Here's what nobody tells you about getting a haircut after 40. The chair is easy. The decision is hard. Not because you don't know what looks good, but because somewhere between 40 and now, you started second-guessing yourself. You see a haircut you like, and immediately a voice says, "That's not for you anymore." That voice is lying to you. A haircut isn't about age. It's about architecture. It's about understanding the geometry of your face, your bone structure, your presence, and making a deliberate decision, not a desperate one, a disciplined one. If you believe style after 40 should be intentional, not accidental, subscribe to Timeless Style 40 Plus and like this video. Today we're breaking down 10 haircuts that don't just look good, they command respect. Let's build your silhouette from the top. Haircut number 1, the classic taper. When we talk about haircuts for the mature gentleman, we start where all authority begins, the classic taper. Not because it's safe, because it's structural. The mistake most men make is confusing simple with weak. The classic taper is not a default. It is a foundation. Every great silhouette in masculine grooming history traces back to this cut. For the man over 40, the taper does something no trend can replicate. It follows your face, not the other way around. The proportion rule is this. The fade should graduate naturally from your temple to your neckline, creating a clean vertical line that elongates without exaggerating. For rounder faces, keep the top longer. For longer faces, reduce crown height. Let the geometry work for you. Now, your barber is your material. This is not a cut you attempt with a stranger. Find someone who understands mature hair texture, density changes, and hairline recession. That relationship is an investment. The discipline, the neckline, clean it every 2 weeks. Not monthly, not when you remember. A soft neckline destroys everything above it. The classic taper isn't just a haircut. It's your baseline of authority. Haircut number 2, the texture crop. Gentlemen, let's address something directly. When a man over 40 hears texture crop, his first instinct is to scroll past. It sounds like something designed for a 22-year-old in a coffee shop, not a man who has built something with his life. That instinct is wrong. The texture crop is one of the most intelligent solutions available to mature man, specifically because of what happens to hair after 40. Density shifts, volume migrates. What was once thick becomes selective. Texture doesn't add youth. It adds dimension. And dimension is what separates a man who looks vital from a man who looks tired. The proportion rule is precise. You want control way of the crown. Enough height to signal presence, but minimal bulk on the sides. Heavy sides pull the face downward. That reads as fatigue, not maturity. The execution lives entirely in your product discipline. A lightweight clay or matte paste applied to slightly damp hair. Work through with your fingers, never a comb. The moment you overstyle a texture crop, you've killed it. Less product, more intention. The texture crop doesn't make you look younger. It makes you look deliberate. That is far more powerful. Haircut number 3, the side part. There's a reason every man in a position of real power, in boardrooms, in courtrooms, in history, wore a side part. It was never about fashion. It was about structure. The side part is the most consistent authority signal in masculine grooming across the last century. Not because it's nostalgic, but because it works on a biological level. It creates asymmetry, and the human eye is hardwired to find asymmetry compelling. Here is where most men over 40 hesitate. They associate the side part with their father's generation. They fear it reads as dated, rigid, out of touch. Reframe that thinking immediately. The side part is not a relic. It is a power structure. The difference between looking nostalgic and looking commanding is entirely in the execution. The rule is this. Your part should never sit at the center of your head. Find your natural growth pattern, typically above the arch of your eyebrow, and work from there. Wider faces benefit from a higher, tighter part. It introduces vertical energy where the face naturally spreads. Never force a part against your natural growth direction. That is where rigidity becomes visible. A precise side part doesn't reference the past. It owns the present. Haircut number 4, the slick back. No haircut in masculine grooming carries more misunderstood potential than the slick back. Men over 40 avoid it for one reason. They've seen it done wrong. The wet, heavy, over-gelled version that screams effort. That version is not what we're discussing today. Done correctly, the slick back is the most dominant silhouette a mature man can wear. Here's why. It removes every distraction from your face. No texture competing for attention. No volume creating noise. Just clean, uninterrupted lines moving in a single direction, backward. That direction communicates forward momentum. Psychologically, it reads as a man who is going somewhere. The proportion is critical. Your hairline to crown ratio determines everything. If your hairline has receded significantly, the slick back requires enough crown density to sustain the illusion of fullness. Be honest with yourself here. The material decision separates the polished from the desperate. You want medium to high hold with low to medium shine. High shine without structure reads greasy. Matte without hold collapses by midday. Find the balance. The execution is non-negotiable, one direction only. Every stroke of the comb moves backward. No deviation. No adjustment mid-style. Consistency of direction creates consistency of impression. That is dominance, not decoration. Haircut number 5, the buzz cut. Most men don't avoid the buzz cut because they dislike it. They avoid it because they're afraid of what it reveals. No length to hide behind. No styling to redirect attention. Just you, your head shape, your skin, your bone structure completely exposed. For the man over 40, that vulnerability feels significant. But here's what that fear is actually telling you. Exposure is not weakness. Exposure is decoration. The buzz cut doesn't hide imperfections. It redefines what an imperfection even means. Scars become character. An uneven hairline becomes irrelevant. What remains is the raw architecture of a man who has nothing to prove and nothing to conceal. That is not harsh. That is powerful. The proportion decision is guard length relative to head shape. Rounder heads benefit from a slightly longer guard, a number 3 or 4, which retains subtle volume at the crown. Heads with strong angular structure can carry a tighter number 2 without looking severe. Never go to number 1 unless your head shape is genuinely exceptional. Humility in guard selection is wisdom, not weakness. The execution discipline is frequency. Every 10 to 14 days maximum. A grown-out buzz cut loses its entire authority within 3 weeks. Precision maintained is confidence sustained. Haircut number 6, the Ivy League. There is a distinction that matters enormously here, and most men miss it entirely. The Ivy League is not a prep school haircut. It is not the cut of a young man trying to look established. It is the cut of an established man who requires zero validation from his appearance. That distinction changes everything about how you wear it. The confusion stems from superficial similarity. Both cuts share length on top and clean sides, but where the prep school version prioritizes neatness for approval, the Ivy League prioritizes structure for authority. One is performing, the other simply exists. For the mature gentleman, this is the intellectual's cut. It communicates that your mind is organized, your standards are non-negotiable, and your presence requires no embellishment. The proportion rule is precise. Length on top should be sufficient to style with direction, typically 2 to 3 inches, while the taper on the sides remains moderate, not aggressive. A severe taper underneath a full top creates visual conflict. You want graduation, not contrast. The styling direction rule is absolute. Always style forward and slightly to one side. Never straight back. That becomes a slick back. Never straight up. That becomes something else entirely. Forward momentum. Controlled intention. The Ivy League doesn't announce itself. It simply commands a room quietly. Haircut number 7. The French crop. Gentlemen, forget everything the name implies. The French crop is not a fashion statement. It is not reserved for men who vacation in Paris or read obscure literature in dimly lit cafes. That perception has kept too many mature men away from one of the most architecturally intelligent haircuts available to them. Here's what the French crop actually does. It controls your forehead line. And for the man over 40, that forehead line is increasingly significant. As the hairline shifts, whether subtly or substantially, the forehead becomes a larger visual element of the face. Left unaddressed, it draws attention upward and creates visual imbalance. The French crop places a deliberate horizontal fringe across that space, not to disguise, to frame. The proportion rule is non-negotiable. Your fringe should sit between mid-forehead and the top of your eyebrows, never below them. Below the eyebrow is costume. Above mid-forehead is negligence. That narrow window is where authority lives. Sides must remain tight. A heavy fringe against heavy sides creates visual noise that collapses the entire structure. The execution is the blow-dry discipline. Direct heat forward and downward simultaneously, never side to side. This sets the fringe flat with intention, rather than allowing it to lift randomly. Random is the enemy of presence. Structure your frame. Control your image. Haircut number 8. The pompadour mature version. Let's confront the elephant in the room immediately. When most men over 40 hear pompadour, their mind goes directly to Elvis, to rockabilly, to a costume rack in a Halloween store. That association is so deeply embedded that they dismiss the cut entirely, without ever considering what a mature, disciplined version actually looks like. That dismissal is costing them presence. The mature pompadour is not about height for the sake of drama. It is about controlled volume, deployed with surgical intention. Where the theatrical version screams, the mature version speaks quietly and commands more attention because of it. The proportion rule governs everything. Your pompadour height should never exceed the width of your jaw. That ratio maintains visual balance. Exceed it, and you enter theatrical territory. Respect it, and you own a silhouette that is genuinely commanding. This is where the taper severity rule becomes critical. The mature pompadour requires a moderate taper, firm enough to create contrast, but never so aggressive that the disconnect becomes the loudest element of the cut. The volume on top should lead. The side should support, not compete. Product choice reinforces this. Medium hold, low shine. The hair moves slightly, it breathes. Lacquered rigidity belongs to the costume version. Architecture breathes. Costumes don't. Haircut number 9, the Caesar cut. The Caesar cut has a reputation problem. Somewhere along the way it became associated with men who couldn't decide. The fallback option. The cut you get when you walk into a barbershop without a clear direction and simply say, just keep it neat. That reputation is both unfair and inaccurate. When executed with precision and worn with intention, the Caesar cut is one of the most architecturally sophisticated choices a mature man can make. The horizontal fringe is not laziness. It is a deliberate geometric decision that directly addresses face length, something that becomes increasingly relevant as men age and facial volume shifts downward. The proportion rule is this. The horizontal fringe line works in direct conversation with your face length. Longer faces benefit enormously from the Caesar's horizontal interruption. It introduces width where the face naturally elongates. Shorter faces require a lighter, thinner fringe to avoid compressing the vertical space further. This is precision engineering, not default grooming. The execution lives entirely in uniformity, discipline. Every millimeter of length across that fringe must be consistent. A single uneven section destroys the geometric integrity of the entire cut. Your barber's line must be absolute. No graduation. No texture across the fringe itself. The Caesar cut doesn't whisper uncertainty. Worn correctly, it declares exactness. Haircut number 10, the Distinguished Undercut. We saved this one for last deliberately, not because it's the most popular, but because it requires the most from the man wearing it. The Distinguished Undercut is not a haircut you grow into casually. It is a haircut you arrive at when you develop enough self-awareness to wear contrast without apology. And that is precisely where most men over 40 hesitate. The contrast between the shaved or closely cropped sides and the longer top feels aggressive to them. Too severe. Too much statement for a man who has moved beyond needing to announce himself. Reframe that concern entirely. The undercut's contrast is not aggression. It is vertical integrity. It draws the eye upward along a clean, uninterrupted line, creating height, elongating the silhouette, and establishing a commanding visual presence that no other cut replicates. The proportion rule is the disconnect level relative to your temple position. The separation line should sit at or slightly below the temple, never above it. Above the temple, and the contrast becomes theatrical. Below it, and the cut loses its architectural tension entirely. That precise placement is everything. The maintenance rule is non-negotiable. The grown-out undercut loses structural integrity faster than any other cut on this list. 3 weeks maximum between appointments. Beyond 3 weeks, the contrast collapses, and contrast is the entire point. A distinguished undercut worn with discipline doesn't just frame your face, it frames your authority. 10 haircuts. One truth. The top of your silhouette controls every room you walk into before you speak a single word. Not one of these cuts was about looking younger. Younger was never the goal. Authority was. Presence was. The deliberate decision of a man who understands that how he presents himself is a direct reflection of how he values himself. That is what separates style from grooming. Intention from habit. If this video sharpened your perspective, subscribe to Timeless Style 40 Plus and like this video. Because authority isn't accidental. It's architected,